1968, the spring of 1968, to start my formal studies for the United Methodist Ministry as a transfer student from Texas Tech, and came to this auditorium and this stage and this university to begin the process, and here I am ending it, so to speak, the active part in this auditorium and at this university. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed at Hunt Dorm, and it kind of all hit me between the eyes that I'd made a surrender and a tremendous decision, a heavy-duty decision, that here I was studying for the Methodist ministry after fighting it off for many, many years. And I prayed to God, God, would you please bless me? Would you please strengthen me for this? Would you please use me? Would you please train me? Would you bless me so that I can be a blessing? That kind of a prayer. Would you show me the meaning of what it means to love people as you have loved me? And a bright light came into the dorm room, and I felt that that prayer was answered, and I continue to feel that that prayer was answered here at McMurray, and especially when the registrar sent me over to Dr. Bob Monk's office. He was on the top floor of the building, and I noticed right off that he had the corner office, no less. But even more importantly, I noticed that Dr. Monk rearranged his afternoon schedule so that he could help me, an incoming student in the middle of the year, arrange my schedule of classes for the year. And Bob, I guess he felt sorry for me. My frustration, my confusion, I guess he sensed just how lost I was, and he ministered to me. And so I'm grateful to Dr. Robert Monk and to other faculty here at McMurray for their ministry to me. I eventually found out that I had to attend a chapel service here in this auditorium. It was required. And on about that first time in chapel, the dean spoke. It's right up here. He talked about his father, who was a Methodist minister, and Dean Crow, who was speaking, held up a book kind of like this, and he said, this was my father's pastoral record book. And he talked about how significant that book was. And Dean Crow, I guess, planted a seed in my mind as I sat there and said, one of these days, maybe I'll have a pastoral record book. I've got one. And so it's got some names of some people that I had the privilege of marrying, and some names of people that were involved in some baptisms and also some funerals. And these are names of people who worked in my life and blessed me and allowed me to receive the blessing of being involved in their lives in very significant times. And so I thank God for this book. It cost $1.19.
There you go.
Got it at Skaggs Albertson. And I notice also, even though I've been voted into retirement, there's still some blank sheets in here. So I don't know, maybe there will be some more names added to this into the future. As a part of my training here, I eventually went to a church camp. I didn't have the privilege of going to church camp while I was a child because I had to play Little League baseball, and that was priority and all of that. But as a McMurray intern, I went to a church camp to practice some kind of ministry, in some kind of training, and it was at Sacramento Methodist Assembly in Sacramento, New Mexico. And one of the first things I noticed there, and had this revelation about, was all of the adults there at church camp. And they were United Methodist lay people who were there engaged in a leadership development training exercise. And they were there for 2 or 3 days. And that just struck me as something very important because it showed me, demonstrated to me how committed and dedicated and involved and engaged lay people in the Methodist Church are. And that was a part of my calling. And I noticed this, and I said, I will not be in this by myself. There are a lot of lay people who will be in this with me. And it was as if God gave me this revelation about something very simple, but still it was profound to me. And that has proven itself again and again, over and over, as I moved from church to church and ministry to ministry, that lay people have made all the difference. Some of you are here this afternoon. Lay people have made all the difference in my ministry, kept me going because of your faith, because of your faithfulness, because of your dedication, because of your commitment. You've kept me going. And also because of your offerings. Amen?
Hey, there you go. There you go.
That shouldn't have been a big revelation to me, because I grew up in a strong church, First Church Dumas. And, if I'd have been half awake and paying attention, I would have noticed how involved and engaged the lay people were and how they made sure that we had a volleyball court to play on.
There you go.
A concrete slab. The most fun I ever had in my life was watching this person here who was a teenager trying to play volleyball.
There you go.
But they made it clear to me at least that recreation was okay, and it was okay to have a good time. And church after church, I was just so impressed with how the lay people were so involved. And I should have noticed that in Dumas. I was paying attention to her rather than
Watch out.
oh boy, no, I'm not going to go there. The mascot up at Dumas, or down at Dumas, in Dumas, is the Demon. They're the Dumas Demons. And when we moved to Spearman, it was a big deal, because when anybody moves to Spearman, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Woo!
We loved it there. And my point is that about our first week there, it was such a big deal for anybody to move there that they sent the editor of the newspaper over to interview us. Somebody's new here in town. And so on the very next morning, I hadn't thought anything about it, but there were big, bold headlines on the front page of the Spearman paper. And it reads, "Former Demon Becomes Minister."
Yeah. Woo.
I'm just lucky, I guess. I thank God that I didn't tell the editor of the newspaper that I also went to Duke Divinity School, and they're the Blue Devils.
Yeah.
The high privilege indeed for me to be in ministry with the lay people of the conference and the churches I was in. Thank you very much for your ministry to us, your care, your love, your support. Also clergy people, it's a high privilege for me to sit in meetings with you, and also with lay people, to pray and to discern God's will and way in some important matters, and I just feel very privileged that that was a part of my life. I'm filled with wonder that the conference has allowed me to be in ministry here in this conference, thought me worthy enough to serve in any way whatsoever. In retirement, I'm reminded of Acts the 20th chapter, verse 22, and that's where St. Paul is speaking. He says, "I'm going to Jerusalem, not knowing what will happen there." I can kind of identify with that. I'm going to retirement, and I'm not sure exactly what is going to happen there. But as you know, and as someone has put it very well, going and not knowing seems to be the paradigm of the life of faith. Going and not knowing seems to be the paradigm of the life of faith. But in the unknown places, God is there before you. So So my theme song will be, and I learned it as I sang in the choir in Spearman not to sing this song, but my theme song is "Where He Leads Me, I Will Follow." And also standing on the promises, because all of us live in uncertainty. There's uncertainty around us. There's some uncertainty about what we're going to do in retirement, but still people of Christian faith, this is the big difference for us, isn't it? We stand on the promises, and that helps us to deal with and to cope with the uncertainty. And so I'll remember the promises of God, especially Psalm 121:8. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this day forth, now and forevermore. And I thank God for those promises. I share with you a pearl of wisdom today, and this is not in the Bible, but I think it probably should be. I learned it in the School of Hard Knocks. Life is too short for drama and petty things. So, laugh insanely, love truly, and forgive quickly. So God is leading Tamara and me in the short term for a season of a special vocation known as funployment. You've heard of unemployment. Well, we're not going to be unemployed. We're going to be funployed. But we will continue to follow where He leads us.
Nearly, dude, nearly. Nearly, we're nearly done.
Greetings to everybody.